lot of activity on the cart today. It's awesome to see. You might get some fish that come up to your windows. Those fish are eating the algae that we leave on the sub. We actually don't clean the sub on purpose. These fish will come up to the windows, eat all that algae. We're like a floating salad bar. So this big rectangle at the top of the ship, that is the cargo hold. So when it got back to Lahaina, it was then renamed Carthaginian. Why did it sink? I'm gonna keep that a secret until I finish my story. Alright, so you can walk onto the ship, or I mentioned that already. So the way they combated all the rust that the seawater was creating on the ship is they poured a huge concrete bed on the bottom to hold the ship together. That seemed to work out for a few years, but the ship almost split in half. So they knew they couldn't have a sinking ship on the front of the harbor on their hands. They needed to get rid of the ship, so they explored a couple different options. Option number one, they could ship the ship somewhere else, have them deal with it. That ended up being a ton of money. So option number two, they could cut the ship apart and sell the metal, but cutting it apart would end up being costing a lot more than the actual cost of the metal. Ooh, there's another shark you can see in the distance off starboard side. In the distance there is just a shadow of a shark. That looks like an adult shark. That's a bigger shark there. But so their third option was they could sell the ship, which is what they ended up going for. They actually approached Atlantic Submarines and asked if we wanted to buy the ship. We said sure, it depends on what you're asking though for. So does anybody know how much we bought the Carthaginian for? Somebody said $500. We actually bought the ship for $1. $1.
Really?
Yes, really. We are on our way to McDonald's to buy something off the dollar menu. So I buy a ship instead. Turns out when you're in the market for a sinking ship, they practically give it to you. So now is the question on all of your minds: how did the ship get down here? Our captain up here, this was his first captaining job. No,
Wasn't my fault.
No, I'm kidding. We sunk this ship on purpose. We wanted to turn it into an artificial reef. There's SpongeBob once again on the shelf. That white stripe, you see SpongeBob on that shelf there.
It's right there on the nose. Right there.
So we wanted to sink the ship on purpose to turn it into an artificial reef. Artificial reefs are very beneficiary to the planet. You can see all these white spots on the side of the ship. All those white spots is coral beginning to grow. So the way coral works, starts with a little piece of larva, randomly free floats in the ocean until it hits something hard and then it begins to grow. So a ship is a perfect spot for coral to start growing. Also clears up some of the overpopulation of some of the coral reefs we have. Plus, it's a really cool to see in the submarine. So we thought sinking the ship was going to be the easy part. It turned out to be quite a challenge. From the point of buying it, it took us 3 years and $250,000 to finally get it down here. So the reason why, there's another shark. Where the Carthaginian meets the sand, there's a shark laying in the sand there. Where the Carthaginian meets the sand, just laying in the crevice. They weren't kidding, they did see a lot of sharks. There are a ton of sharks here today. Oh, and here's a pack, like I was mentioning earlier, the bluefin trevallies. Here's a pack of those bluefin trevallies on the stern of the ship. Now the reason why it costed so much to get the ship down here is we had to pay for the land that the ship was going to sit on. We also had to pay for the permits to let people know that we knew what we were doing. We also had to pay to fly people out to take a look at the ship, making sure it was ready to sink. We also had to pay for the man hours to clean the ship, make sure everything that was toxic to the fish was completely removed. Yes, all the oil, all the grease, things of that nature had to be completely removed. Once we were finally ready to sink the ship, it was about 3 years later, we began to tow it out to our spot. This was the perfect spot because, as you can tell, there isn't really a lot out here besides the ship. So this was the perfect spot to sink it. So we cut 4 rectangles on the side of the ship, 2 at the bow, 2 at the stern, and from other vessels we pumped it with seawater. Now when it started to sink and the ocean got to those big rectangles, the ocean did the rest for us, and about an hour later it was down here at the bottom. This ship was sunk in December of 2005. Been down here for about 16 years now. Yes, yes, we sunk it to create it artificially. Yep.
Is that where we are?
Yes, somebody mentioned about divers going down to sunken ships. We do get divers on this ship. We open it up for everybody, so you can actually go down to the ship for free with your own dive gear, of course. You can explore the ship. There's actually a little room in there we call the nursery, because a lot of little juvenile white tips like to hang out in there. It's rated one of the top 10 dive sites in the United States to go check out. Now we are going to head to our deep spot. We're going to go up to 130 feet. That's quite a treat for you guys because less than 1% of the population has ever been down this deep. Divers don't necessarily really like to go past 100 feet. So we're going to go a lot deeper than that. Now once we get down there, I want you to do one thing for me. You can take a picture out the window or of our depth gauges. After all, you may never be this deep on the earth ever again. And then I want you to send all the photos you took to your friends because the #1 rule coming to Hawaii is make your friends really jealous. Then I want you to send them a text that says exactly this. I went on a $7.5 million air-conditioned submarine. We saw a lot of sharks. We went up to 130 feet. We saw some rays. We even saw a sunken ship. It was a lot of fun. We had an attendant who was super attractive and very funny. I wish you were here. Haha, LOL, laughing, crying emoji face. Now we have a little bit of extra time, so we're going to take a look at the North Packed Reef once again. There you go. So the most numerous fish we have at this reef is your big scale soldier fish. These guys have that black eye and big black gill. There's quite a few of them here. So the big scale soldier fish looks like a gray fish. They are actually a vibrant red color. The ocean actually takes the red from them. So if you look up here, I'll show you exactly why those guys look gray. Up here I have this, looks like a black handkerchief. Now if I were to shine light onto this black handkerchief, all of a sudden all that red pops back into existence. So why is it black and then why does it turn red when I turn the light on? So the ocean sucks up the sun's rays, therefore sucking up color. So about 15 feet down we lose red, a few more we're going to lose orange. If you remember the color of the rainbow, Roy G. Biv, that is the number of, or the same order of colors that we lose these colors. If you look into the submarine